And with me today from United is Carl Randazzo, and he is here to talk about their recent, actually it was yesterday's meeting.
No, it was 27th.
Was it yesterday?
The
27th, excuse me.
Yeah.
The United M&C meeting and all the different things that you went over.
Right.
So welcome.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate coming on here. Actually, this meeting at the M&C meeting was as a result of we have our meeting every other month. We didn't have one in December because in December there weren't enough topics to address.
Okay.
So we deferred that until the next time period, which happens to be February, and we had it on the 26th, actually. And the thing right now is that the 27th. We had this meeting, and it was an extremely good meeting, actually. We had a number of topics that we had to address, which we normally do, and there's usually, as I've mentioned before, there's 5 United directors on the M&C committee, and then 2 advisors. And at this meeting, we added a 3rd advisor. We can have as many advisors as we actually have United board directors.
Okay.
And in this particular case, now we have 5 United directors and 3 advisors. And I thought it went very well. Usually we start off with reporting on the consent calendar, and the consent calendar has a number of reports associated with it. And in this case, there's 4 reports that we approved. 2 of them happen to be the maintenance programs report and the expenditures report. And then we went on to the project log, and the project log usually is part of the consent calendar. And this project log is a log of programs and activities and projects that we're working on within the United community. And Ernesto Munoz, who's our M&C supervisor,
right,
he usually goes over that with us, certain salient points within the log itself. And this particular time period, a couple of questions were raised about the termite pest control program that was listed on there, and our Shepherd's Crook fencing installation. And with regard to the termite pest control fumigation issues, we have a situation where he needed additional funding, because last year when we approved the budget for 2019, we had not completed the report for how many buildings we would need to fumigate this year. So as a result of that, when they finalized the report, unfortunately for us, we found out instead of only 14 buildings that we originally appropriated money for 2019, we actually had 37 buildings that would need fumigation. So we had to approve additional funding for that particular thing, and we did that yesterday, at that meeting. So, and then we also discussed one of the other points on that program, which was our Shepherd's Crook installation, where every year until 2031, that's the plan right now, because we can't afford to do everything all the time. Okay, we're doing approximately 1,400 feet of fence each year, and last year we completed our 1,400 feet of fence. This year we're going to complete another 1,400 feet of fence. However, they're going out for bid for this particular section of fence, and we asked the question, why aren't we going with a contractor where we can renew their option to basically continue on in that particular vein? And we were told that under the circumstances that was the intent. However, we found that this particular contractor was not performing as well as we'd like to.
Okay.
So we're looking to find a new contractor for this year that we could possibly put into effect a renewal of an option on an ongoing basis with an approved funding for that particular item. So that would work very well for us, okay? And then we wouldn't have to go through this whole process each year. We just need to review whether or not he's performing well for the previous year, and we'll go on to that and use him for the following year. And then he'll be familiar with the whole process.
Right.
And it's not reinventing the wheel. And then this time, instead of really having a list of activities where we have staff reports, and the staff will put together a compilation of what needs to be done for each particular activity, we chose to discuss a number of topics, 4 to be exact, that we needed to get looked at as a result of questions that have been raised by residents and various other things that have happened recently. And some of those activities, the 4 activities that we discussed, were solar power plant, the solar power plant at the laundry room, and I use the word power plant because that's what it is. It generates power, okay? Only thing is it's solar. It doesn't have generators and turbines in it. The need for pedestals under our washers and dryers in the laundry facilities. Issues regarding painting exterior alterations. With our painting program, every 10 years, we paint certain sections and then we go on to the next section, and then as a result of that, every 10 years, the whole place is basically painted. That's the program that we have in effect. However, in certain cases, when an alteration was done outside, since it now belongs to the resident, that doesn't get painted. So we have some issues with regard to that because people complain that the rest of the building looks good, and this one particular portion, maybe it's a patio awning or what have you, is not being painted. And then we also addressed drainage and gutters in our community as a result of our recent drizzling rain, as you know.
Yeah.
And that was something that has come up. And these are all topics that have come up by residents and ourselves. Okay, we're looking at things. We're trying to basically...
Has there been problems with some of the gutters?
There have been, yes.
Okay.
So I'll go on to some to that. Okay. With regard to the solar power plant, oh, and by the way, because of the fact that these were oral discussions, we could possibly have gone on for hours and hours discussing these particular activities. So as a result of that, I put some guidelines into effect to sort of like guide all of the people so that we don't spend 3 hours on one topic. And I thought it went very well. In fact, we ended the meeting only 5 minutes over. We normally are there till 12 o'clock. We ended at 12:05.
Okay.
So with regard to solar power plant, in the laundry facilities, we had a contract with a company who will go unnamed right now, but it's a matter of record, and they indicated that the power that we were supposed to receive as a result of their installation was X. And it seems that now we're not getting the X. And as a result of that, we're a little bit upset by it, and then there's a matter of finger pointing, well, you didn't do this, and you didn't do that, and as a result of that, well, we only guaranteed it if you did this. There's a whole thing going on right now. So, plus the fact that we need to possibly manage this solar complex a little bit differently, maybe, okay, to possibly get a little more bang for our buck out of it. So we're looking at the whole complexities of that solar power plant. Even though it's a static type thing, okay, without any rotating machinery associated with it, it's something that we really need to look at. And we're giving it some visibility. So we've set up a ad hoc task force to address this, and it's made up of 5 directors and United members who have volunteered to do this, and we're going to look at contracts and various different things and see how we can make this thing a little bit better for us.
Okay.
Then adding pedestals underneath the washers and dryers. That question got raised by one of the residents at one of our board meetings or one of the M&C meetings, whereby they felt that the dryers are all front loaders and they're a little low to the ground. And some people are tall, and the lowness to the ground causes them a little bit of difficulty, yet there are people that are short, and that lowness to the ground is not an issue for them. And then, so as a result of that, we viewed the pros and cons of each one. Okay, one of the cons is the fact that if you raise them up on pedestals, because they're of the type that the actual controls are in the back of the washer or dryer and not in the front, then there are certain short people that won't be able to access them. So I mean, there's pros and cons to everything. And there's also access to the electricity and to the plumbing and what have you. So as a result of that, we came up and we decided that at this particular point in time, we're not going to do anything with that particular issue.
Okay.
We felt that the cons exceeded the pros, so we've just tabled that item. And then there was the issue, as I said, with the painting and the exterior alterations. As I said, the paint jobs that happen within the community is on a 10-year cycle. When they see that a certain section of the particular building was not painted, people start complaining, well, it looks unsightly.
Yeah.
but it's not our responsibility because it's now been taken on by the resident. So unfortunately, then it's a matter of, well, you guys should paint it anyway, but it's not only the painting, it's the prior to paint. Possibly there's some damage as a result of wood rot and what have you. Then we have to take on that responsibility. So we looked at it and we got told by our M&C head supervisor that we do have methods in place to address that, whereby we notify the resident that if they have an alteration, they need, when we go into that area to paint, they need to address painting for their particular portion. And this is only addresses ourselves to exteriors because of the fact that the exteriors is what everybody sees.
Right.
Okay, it's the curb appeal, if you will. And that's where we get ourselves into trouble. So we have things in place to notify these people that they're supposed to paint their portion of it, okay? And if they don't do that, then obviously we have to set up some system of making sure that they do it. But in any case, so we're not going to do anything more with that. We felt that there was nothing else to be done with that. And then we talked about one of the last topics, which is a really interesting topic considering the fact, as I said, that we have been getting some torrential rains recently.
Right.
I personally have a gutter in front of my front door. I have a Seville, and during portions of the rainstorms, when you go outside and it's coming down in buckets, the gutter overflows and we have a cascading waterfall effect coming out of that gutter.
Right.
And that's not a good thing because then you're going to try to go through this waterfall in order to get out to your car. So in any case, plus there is situations whereby not only when it happens on roofs, we have no gutters on many of our roofs, and as a result of that, if it's a two-story, when it comes down, the splashback can be, it comes down from a two-story that's 20 feet, just goes down to the ground as a 6-foot possible splashback onto the actual side of the building. And as a result of that, it wets the side of the building such that it could, if there's any sort of pinholes or what have you in the paint, it could start, doing some damage to that particular thing. And then there's the issue of the fact that when it comes down, even if you do have a gutter, the gutters and the downspouts, are so close to the building that in time it could possibly undermine the foundations. That's an issue too. So we have a problem in the, and then get on to the next part. Then it then drives itself out into the street, and I don't know if anybody, a number of people complaining that there are various streets here that are flooded out and they're going into about 6 inches to 1 foot of water depending on where it is.
Right.
Because the drains can't take it away quick enough. So as a result of that, we have a comprehensive program that we need to sort of look at and put into effect to address all of our problems with regard to drainage. Now, remember, California, it doesn't rain that often, okay? But when it rains, the old song goes, it pours, okay? So we need to do we're putting into effect for next year's budget a comprehensive program that will be long-term. We can't take care of this in 1 year, okay? Because, we have a number of different priority items on our list of things to do, okay, over the years. But we need to put this down as one of the items to address drainage, gutters, and various other things to prevent any undermining of foundations, to prevent splashback causing damage to the sides of buildings, to prevent waterfalls coming off so that people can't walk through them, and also to prevent a lot of water from getting into the streets where it's flooding the streets.
Right.
And that whole thing, we had a brainstorming session at that meeting, but brainstorming is not scientific, okay? It just comes up with lots of ideas, okay? When you have a lot of ideas, some of those ideas have some credibility, and some of them are really pie in the sky. So we have to put a thing together, and we're putting a program together to be taken care of over the next number of years. And for 2020, we're going to put money in our budget to address certain parts of this, and we'll do this scientifically. We need to do this year and this next year and what have you. But we're looking at it.
All right.
That's
All
it.
right, very good. A lot going on.
Yes, there is.
All right, I appreciate you coming on, Carl.
Thank you.
And I know whenever I know you oversee this committee, so it now meets in another couple months or every
It
month?
meets in another couple of months. It's every
Okay.
2 months right now, except for the fact that I told the ad hoc task force that if they needed to report back to us, okay, I would put together a emergency meeting of the actual MNC,
Okay.
to hear what they had to say.
All right, very
That's
good.
it.
Take
Okay,
care, sir.
take care. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
We'll be right back.